And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today I want to give my first impressions of UBOOT, the board game. Now, the reason I'm giving first impressions is because I don't know if and when I'm ever going to get a chance to play this again. It might be a year from now, so I'd rather talk about my thoughts on this game. UBOOT, the board game, is a cooperative board game in which players are working together to run a submarine, a German submarine, and go around and accomplish missions. It is a game that 100% needs an app, free app, or a computer, whatever you play it. You must use this to play the game. It comes with a 3D submarine and a lot of different pieces all over the place, and there are 4 different positions. You have the captain, the engineer, the navigator, and the first officer, and each of them has workers which you're going to place on the board and do various actions. So it is kind of half board game and half computer game. So let me start out by saying my experience of playing this was one of the best experiences I've had in a long time playing a game. Everybody was really involved. The theming was really strong. The conversation and camaraderie as we decided what to do and go on was fantastic, and I really enjoyed it. So then you might say, well, then why wouldn't you play it again the very next week? Well, a couple reasons. This took me a long time. This was one of my most anticipated games to come out this year, and I was super excited to play it. This game is fairly complex. Now, I know that if you know how to play the game, you'll say, no, it's really not that complex. For a new person, there is an overwhelming amount of information. And there's so much overwhelming amount of information. When we played, someone who knew how to play the game taught us. That person wasn't even one of the 4 people. They sat there. They had a good time too. Again, because we're all working together. But that person was kind of saying, okay, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. They were telling the 4 different people what they could do. And that was really helpful, to the point where I could almost want that every time you play. Now, I mean, as time goes by, you get better at understanding the systems, but having one person explain, because each person is doing very different things. One person is running the computer app. They're doing that, inputting stuff. There's all different things. At times, it's almost like a video game where you're shooting at the ship and stuff. Another person is the navigator, easily the most complex of all the players. That person is sitting there trying to figure out your course. They have different tools and they're charting it out, and they're the one who then tells the first officer, the person running the computer, where to go, what course to set. Another person's the engineer. They're like efficiency. They have these guys, they got to run all over the ship fixing and maintaining systems all the time. And the other person's the captain, who basically makes all the decisions. So the game comes with a certain amount of actions that you can do before you start losing morale, which is pretty terrible. And the captain has to decide what those actions are going to be. An action might be everybody can move all their workers, all your crew members, to different spots where you need to get your jobs done. The captain might say, set a course, dive, fire, those different things. But each of those things needs to be done. You need to make sure the torpedoes are loaded and ready to go. You need to make sure the torpedo systems are working. You need to dive if you're close to an enemy. You need to keep some people up on the deck to keep an eye out for airplanes, or just to look for the enemy ships as they're on the horizon. And you need the navigator to figure out where to go. You need people to listen to the radio, where you might get messages, encrypted messages, and figure out what to do. This is all really cool, and it's all extremely thematic. It's also hard as all get out. So we played on medium level, and we did okay, mostly because we were playing what's called the training mission, which I guess is less hard, but even still, we were figuring things out. I mean, it took us the longest time to fire torpedoes and hit and sink something, and we also used the deck gun, the 88 millimeter, to take out a ship, and all that was very cool and neat, but there's so much being unpacked in this game that it's like an experience style game. Like, this is the kind of game that I would want to play. Honestly, I'd want to play this not at a convention and yet at a convention at the same time. By what that I mean is I want to play it at a convention where the people, that's the kind of time where we sit and spend however long it takes to play through the game, but at the same time in a quiet room where the atmosphere is there would also be a lot of fun. The game itself has a really neat mechanism with it takes place in real time. So our game was, I want to say, 48 hours. We didn't play 48 hours. You can run the game in real time, which would take 48 hours if you ran it the whole time. You don't do that. You're making your decisions and do stuff, and then you can press, basically fast forward to the next thing that happens. So hours will go by in a blink, and then stop. Oh, there's an enemy ship. We're back to real time. And I think that's a really neat aspect of it. At the end of the day, though, I felt like the whole thing could have been a computer game. Most board games, I guess, could be a computer game, but the whole thing, for example, every once in a while, a message might show up and say, draw an event card. Sure, so I draw an event card, but couldn't the computer have just given me the event? It's the same thing, right? And at that point, I'm like, oh, which is the board game, which is the computer game? And I'm a big fan of app-assisted gaming. But this felt almost one of those times where the game almost was secondary to the app. I don't know how else to explain it. Another thing is you need 4 people. I was completely, not overwhelmed, but whelmed at my position. I had enough to do with what I was doing. I cannot imagine running 2 of them or all 4 of them. This seems like it would be a fun game to play solo, to go and mess around with, but I wouldn't, because that's just too much. I would then be overwhelmed. Atmosphere, great. Sound effects, cool. From what I can tell, very historically accurate in a lot of things. Lots of entertaining things, but figuring out what the crew is going to eat. One person is the cook. Deciding where you're going to go, because it is a sandbox game. You can drive around in the ocean anywhere. You might find nothing, and you might run into an enemy fleet. But they give you where things are specifically, and then you got to get there. You got to decide the speed of your sub. If you're going too fast, it's harder for you to turn. There's just a lot of really cool things in it. So like I said, an entertaining experience, one of the best ones I've ever had. But I'll need 4 fairly astute gamers. We were very fortunate in this case. We had 4 very astute gamers with a very astute teacher. That was a great situation. I want that situation every time I play this game. I need those. You need time to do it. I know it says on here you can play it in an hour and stuff, but it's going to be 2-3 hours thing. And in fact, you can end your mission whenever you want, but you're going to get so caught up and so immersed in it. So those are the negative things as to why I wouldn't play it that often. But when I do play it, it's going to be that kind of thing that you remember and have a fantastic time doing so. Really like this game. It's definitely going in the Dice Tower library. I just don't know how often I'm going to play it personally because of the different constraints that are on it. But if you want to see a really neat, cooperative, involved, complex cooperative game that is just brimming with theme, UBOOT is your game. Those are my first impressions. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower.